Welcome back. Welcome back. We're in the second panel discussion of Swarm's AI Career Triathlon. And this event is wholly focused on helping you manage and improve your career planning, and how you develop your professional identity. So I hope you came ready with some questions, some observations, anything that you'd like to share. We have a very interesting mix of practitioners here that have more than 20 years experience each in their own respective area of practice. And I like this balance because Carmela and Maestro are independent uh, producers, independent business owners, and they've been in a very rapidly evolving space in the creative world. And Manuel, you have a lot of experience managing complex corporate multinational environments that requires a lot of managing stakeholders and moving through all the different processes that have to do with large organizations. So I feel like we're going to have a very interesting mix here. Um, but without further ado, I'll pass the mic over to Carmela, and we can start the self introductions.
Thanks, Joaquin. Hi, everybody. I'm going to set my timer. My name's Carmela Pereira. I am a strategic integrator, AI educator, and consultant. My background is corporate America, large global corporation. Before that, I was in hospitality services, and my career is very much like a motley crew of interesting experiences. So I feel like this is my time right now, this time of rapid iteration and innovation. I bridge the gap between human intuition and emerging technology because I could never adapt to what was expected. So I'm involved in a lot of different organizations in real life and also virtually. And one thing that I've learned between every single space that I've been in is that attuned strategic collaboration is pivotal. When I don't have it or I don't see it, things get really chaotic. So I'm so excited to talk with these people that I just met. And I'm done.
Thank you very much, Carmela. I'll pass over the mic to Maestro, and we'll keep it moving.
I'm Maestro Stevens. What's up, everybody? Thank you, Joaquin, for throwing this event. So I'm a systems architect. My company is named TIE, which stands for the Iconic Expressions. I've been in the business for about 10 years. When I say the business, I just mean entrepreneur, because entrepreneur is not a really an industry. But I pivoted like many other people did. The main pivot that I say that I mentioned in my last talk was I started off pretty much as a generalist, just trying to find my niche, find out who I was. And within the last 5 or 6 years, I've carved that out to be able to really focus on building AI systems, building web systems, starting with brand strategy, keeping that in mind because you don't want to put the cart before the horse. But being able to find out who you are and what your voice is, and being able to utilize that as a way to direct you, so you can build out your systems. And for the most part, I'm a big fan of technology. I love to cook. I love to, watch a good movie, build things. I love spending time with my daughter. I also like exercising. It's one of the things I love to do, and traveling as well too. And I spent some time in Taipei, Taiwan, and Athens, Greece, speaking at a few conferences a couple years ago. And I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Thank you, Maestro. Manuel, would you like to give it a go?
Yes, thank you, Joaquin. And again, thank you for the opportunity provided. And thank you to all to the audience. And it's a pleasure to share this panel with Carmela and Maestro. Um, and really look forward to hearing your experiences. But yes, my name is Manuel Lopez. I am a program manager for global projects, as long as within the state government, I have a commission which allows me to have a little bit of a vision into the state government implementations of AI and tag team and see how that can relate into the corporate implementation, which there is a slightly different method or ways of implementing from a global, aggressive, or have to be done very quickly as to where you have to be, um, you have to have all your ducks in a row. But other than that, I have been a technologist my entire life since probably I was 12 years old. I started tinkering with computers, and from that, like I mentioned earlier, web development, systems development, and now managing global implementations of AI rollouts. That so that in a nutshell is my experience um, with AI.
Excellent. Well, let's get this panel discussion on the road. One of the first topics I'd love to get your thoughts around is awareness. So, monitoring market trends that signal the need to evolve. I mean, whether you're an independent or whether you are representing a global or government or nonprofit organization, you're actively searching for ways to improve and stay ahead of the curve because any competitive advantage makes a significant difference as time goes on. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are around developing awareness and building your career and your professional identity around that. Anybody can go.
Yeah,
I'll jump in.
go ahead.
I think of Joaquin, I know you like cooking, and I think of it, anything that I do, I think of it as like, okay, if I know the basics, then I can play around with them. So I know if I have olive oil and garlic and a protein, I can make something pretty good. For me, it's around AI specifically. It's around, okay, there are some things that are going to stay kind of the same for a little while. um, what do I do with those things? And I tend to have pretty extroverted tendencies. So I'm involved in a lot of community because it's not even like I'm looking for new information. People are constantly sharing what they're working on, and there's so many possibilities. So especially with an increasingly digital world, it's important for me to be in connection with others, to hear anecdotes about what they're working on, because there's so many products, but there's a lot of snake oil people. Where does your product work? I'm more likely to use it when someone I know and trust um, is recommending it to me. On that same lens, people in my communities, like if they're upskilling and they're taking different certifications, then I know, like, oh, that's probably, I have some great testimonials on why I should do that as well. So it's definitely a mix between what I can research, but I'd say that's probably like 40%, but I'd say 60% talking with people is my way to stay in the loop.
I can chime in. Thank you. That's a very good perspective, Carmela. With me, I believe my career has been impacted by staying curious um, and really trying to use all those processes available and technologies available to really improve my skills and keep up with technology. Um, my interest has always been in process improvement using technology. So AI right now is like I get to open the box and it's like a jack in the box. Everything comes out and many possibilities, so many things that you can do. So you have to prioritize what you want to focus and expertise. That I think that's the key right now, where you have so many things to learn, too many different areas. You have to find your niche and your interest, because if you want to focus on something else that doesn't call your interest, or um, for me, it doesn't work. It has worked for me throughout my career by staying interested on what I like and pursuing that. Like Carmela said, there are so many things available. For example, now I'm able to see that you're using LLMs to learn nursing. Like if you're in a nursing program, you are using generative AI um, for up to a certain extent, right? Um, for project management, PMI came up with their own LLM chat prompt, where you can come up with the best strategies on using the pen book. So staying interested, engaged, you will be successful. That is my take.
I will give a different perspective since I don't want to be redundant because you all said some really good answers. I would say in terms of monitoring, when I hear the word monitoring trends, I think of something like setting some type of notification system, some type of alarm. So the cool thing about AI these days is most of the popular platforms give you the ability to schedule tasks, schedule routines, schedule actions and automations. ChatGPT has the feature, Claude has the feature, Gemini has the feature, the man in the moon has the feature. Everybody got the feature, like Oprah, you get it all. But the point is that I think monitoring trends and using AI to be able to keep you up to date is one thing that you can do to really start that signaling process. Another thing is watching YouTube yourself. So yeah, you have your AI that's monitoring the trends and doing the roundups from your favorite tech, websites or news websites. And then you can also use YouTube as well, because it's still #2 search engine in the world, as far as I know, and see what other people are doing. And then attending events. Yes, you have YouTube that you can watch things, but attending an event like this or attending in-person events is another way that you can monitor those trends, to be specific. And then when it comes to being able to actually take that and use it, I think not overwhelming yourself is probably better than consuming so much. And the thing, analysis paralysis, that we all heard about, just having so much that you don't know how to make a decision. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues people have when it comes to monitoring. So I do think that there is healthy, there's a healthy way to monitor, but then there's also a way where you can put too much cup in the water. My daughter says she's thirsty. I'm not about to give her a gallon of water. I'm gonna give her a cup and we're gonna fill it up halfway. And sometimes people just be drinking that gallon of water. Next thing you know, they're in the bathroom for 20 minutes.
I love the visual. Yeah, so I think curiosity is a superpower that sometimes we're afraid to use because uncertainty and ambiguity and newness can be a little scary, especially when you have to learn new vocabulary words and you have to explore a world through a different lens. It's like learning how to walk in a different world. Um, but that's an important precursor to developing adaptability. Um, so I'd like to ask you all, what are some strategies for navigating and leading through professional shifts? New jobs, new trends, new tools, mastering expertise in different areas. What's your go-to?
I'm happy to do the same order.
Yeah.
So I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said about curiosity. I think of this idea as play, and people might think like play, like, oh, it's fun. But when you watch tiger cubs or wolf cubs or, kittens or puppies play, they're not doing it for fun. They're doing it because that's how they learn how to fight. That's how they learn how to hunt. And I love that idea of like nature being, teaching its little baby creatures to survive through like playing. And to piggyback off of what Manuel said around doing what you love, it's like, if you force yourself to do something that you don't love, it's just torture. So at least choose something that you like and then trust that you'll find a way to make money through it. And for me, what that looks like is I know that it's important for me to cultivate community. I'm really into things like neuroscience and psychology and intuition. And people wouldn't normally think like, oh, AI, but all of that AI is so deeply human in many ways. So I'm kind of creating my own company. I don't know what that looks like, but the path, I'm very much like walk in the path of peers. Um, so I am a Gemini, and Geminis are very adaptable. It's following my inner like calling, even when things are really scary and I don't know how I'm going to make the money for this thing or how something's going to work out. Leaning into things that terrify me. The human brain loves what's familiar, even if that's like terrible. So, what you talked about, Joaquin, with a certainty, the human brain would prefer a terrible certainty than like a super fun. For me, I just want to be like eating fried chicken in my room by myself, like not talking, that's safe, but it's like that's not what I'm on this planet for. So once I kind of approach things with a sense of like, it's okay for me not to know how to do this perfectly. Um, there are people that are going to help me. There are plenty of YouTube videos, and to Maestra's point, finding like professionals you trust on YouTube and just kind of like following them is such a game changer. So I could talk for another hour, but I want to hear from my panelists, my fellow panelists.
I'll jump in then. So yeah, I would say in terms of the strategies to navigate, this process, this pathway, I think Carmela understands strategy, and being able to integrate it into, what she does. So I would say strategically, I'm thinking about the why first. Why am I even making this change? Why am I even in the path that I'm at? I don't believe anybody can speak strategy without the why. I think it makes no sense. The next thing that I always tell people is the where. Where do you want to end up? Now, why would I say where? Because when you have the why in the beginning and you have where you want to be, you can fill everything else up in the middle based on a goal. That's your where. And while you want to get there, to Carmela's point, and Manuel had spoke on it, you're going to go through some hard times. That why is the only thing that's going to be the thing as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. But I definitely know it's in the corporate world too. Even blue collar jobs like that, to be able to get through those hard shifts, to be able to get through those times where the company is, letting people go, specifically maybe because of AI. How do you get through that, and how do you know when you need to take on this new technology, this new process? How do you get through that when it's overwhelming? I think strategically, you having a centered why, whatever that is for you, knowing where you want to go. And even if you don't know where you want to go, just close your eyes and point your hand on the map. I mean, sometimes it really does take that, so we don't go too far off the deep end. I think those are the biggest things I can see strategically helping one navigate, especially professionally, in this day and age, and being able to, what was the other thing? Lead themselves. I don't believe you can lead somebody else until you can lead yourself. I know we talked about, I was going to say the word haters. I think Carmela said, you have the snake oil salesman type of thing, so those are like people who aren't leading themselves. So I think if you can learn how to lead yourself, you'll be all right.
Yeah, those are good points. A lot of psychology definitely into how to strategize and resilience, right? You have to be prepared for the best case scenario and for the worst case scenario. But I believe that if you follow your passion and you engage into learning what you like, what you enjoy, and be able to make money out of it, pay the bills. I think there is a lot of potential once you have go over that hump. I think the growth is out there. You have to go through the pains of learning and being resilient, learning from the change, from the experiences. But once you pivot, everything is, it gets to a point as to where you want to learn more, expand, and broaden your knowledge. And also, don't forget that as we grow, we need to bring those who are behind and mentor them as well. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Those 2 cents are worth more than 2 cents. Um, I think one of the thematics that is emerging in this conversation, and also as a core undercurrent of developing this whole program, all the different sessions, everybody with the goodwill to give back, give forward. Um, the world is open source. We're inundated with information and signals and good people giving us quality information. I smiled, Manuel, when you brought up people in nursing using AI to support their self-learning developments. My fiance, she takes the lectures that are provided by the instructors and she tosses it into Notebook LM, and she listens to podcasts
Mhm.
that make it accessible. And with Gemini, she also creates interactive quizzes so that she can simulate running and doing the exams ad hoc whenever she needs to get additional preparation. Um, Carmela, I see you knee deep in the cross pollination of communities. It's a running joke. I mentioned to you the All Tech is Human. You brought me into Creative Mornings. You brought me into Next Jump. This is all sort of, how do you bounce ideas and resources between people? And then Maestro, you've previously beat into my head like brutally because I'm very obstinate. The importance of relinquishing or decoupling your efforts from the execution and focusing more on high calorie thinking, more high leverage activities. So yeah, this I'm just saying all these things because I want to lead into the third topic of discussion: career planning. Right? How do you intentionally build or future proof your trajectory in the cone of possibility? Right? Uh, so with that, by all means, whoever wants to start.
Yeah, I will start. I tend to be more like I love this dynamic of Maestro being more kind of concrete and then Manuel being more like tying it back to passion, but then he's the one that has like the corporate, like very kind of um for me, I like a vision statement, and I think Maestro touched this before. Getting clear on what I wanted and like especially last year after I was laid off, and I didn't love that job. I loved aspects of that job. I loved the people I worked with. I didn't love the job. It was a steady paycheck. So when I was laid off, it was like, this is actually a gift, even though I don't know it yet. And so once I got very clear about what I wanted to use my time and energy for, and this kind of touches into what Maestro was saying and Manuel, it's like the universe, and I'm unapologetically woo, but it's like those things started to come to me around opportunities. Like it wasn't just like people handing me stuff, it was this idea of like you pray for potatoes and the universe gives you a hoe. um I to your point around all of these opportunities like coming at me, oh my gosh, intuition's a big part of it, and also saying no to a lot of things that I want to do, and that's so hard because I want to do so many things and I have crazy FOMO. But time is not unlimited, my energy is not unlimited. So I think both of my fellow panelists touched on this. When I'm doing something very connected to my vision, it's almost like I get so much more energy from that I wouldn't have had possible like before. It's instead of being like drained, I'm energized. And I love what Manuel said about the people behind us, like legacy and um, trying to leave this planet better than I found it. That's a big part of what gives me energy. And so I'll answer the question. I don't believe there's a way to future proof anything. I could walk out of I could walk out of my building and get hit by like, we have this moment. So what are we going to do in this moment? And clarity is so important. It's that saying of like, somebody put it to me like this. You imagine getting into a cab and you're just like, drive me somewhere. The cab driver's like, what? You know, you need to tell the outer world and also your inner self, like where you want to go. So I'm done now.
Yeah. Well, future-proof your trajectory on the age of AI. Yeah, that is hard, really. Um, like you said, Carmen, I like your philosophical thoughts and ideas. It's I think you just have to do your best um, to learn, to stay focused, to take care of yourself. Remember that if you don't take care of yourself, the rest will not be there. So take care of yourself and learn what's new today will not be will be useless probably in the next few years. So um, just learning, staying connected with the peers that you want to learn from, that give you energy, that they don't suck your energy. I think that is key.
Yes. So I heard energy on both sides, and I think that that's like a common denominator here that we need to talk about because we only have so much of it, as Kamala already alluded to. I think that the best way to do this are because it's really a buzzword term. I think that we're also saying to a degree because nothing can truly be future proofed. But if we are to use that term as a way to keep us aligned with our future itself, because that's what trajectory is. Like you're on a path, you're on a course based on what? Based on what's behind you. As Manuel said, people behind you. So you still have one of my favorite games was Mario Kart 64. And when you did the lap, you had to face the ghost, right? The ghost of not Christmas past, but yourself. Sometimes you really have to understand, like, you fighting your own self most of the time. I tell people all the time, like, I have to fight you to fight for you. That should never be the case. So it's one of those situations where I think the best way is just to stay in tune, monitor, protect your energy, as we've been saying. I think that being intentional, about it, you can ask the universe for whatever. If you say I want to go right, but you keep heading in the left direction, the universe is going to be like, well, you say it one thing, but you're doing another. Humans have a tendency to contradict themselves until, we run into a wall. So I believe that being intentional is very important. No, you can't future proof anything because as it was already mentioned that, anytime something can happen that you never would have guessed. And I think just what they say, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Hence why I'm back home now versus with my panel. My session, I was at the library because the internet went out at 5 o'clock in the morning. So instead of panicking, I went out to different libraries and found a library that the internet was still on. That was me staying ready. So I didn't have to get ready because my future said, no, Joaquin knows how I get down. Like, we do the sound. I'd be having my stuff ready to go. But when you have to make an adjustment, are you ready for that adjustment? Have you stayed prepared? Have you stayed in the gym? Have you stayed exercising? So I think you just got to stay ready.
Mm-hmm. I can chime in a little bit more on the experience. I have gone through mergers, acquisitions, rifts, and what's kept me focused is being engaged. I know this is more of a things just worked out, but I was like, there was some cool project that got me to a traveling to different areas of the world, and I was like, my mission will be completed at a certain company because this project is so awesome. I love it. I know it had some impacts, but it got me the opportunity that I was looking for. I wasn't sure about what was going to come, but that one opportunity allowed me to expand my horizons in many different ways that somehow just ended up working out that I just kept going into the next project and into the next project. So many times it's just putting the passion, putting the focus, and I hate to say this, but many times it's about luck, right? We don't know what's coming. We all have mentioned, you can anything can happen in the next minute, but that is one experience that I think it's very helpful to keep in perspective. That as long as you have your passion, focus, energy, and continue learning, I think those are some ingredients of success.
I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit from my perspective. I think that there are a spectrum of investments that you can make in your professional development and your identity. There are zones of change. I mean, if you invest in skills that are closer to the conceptual, the methodology, the procedural kind of change that you can affect in a particular discipline, that's a much safer bet. That even though you're going to change tools and maybe there's going to be tweaks and twists to the methods, you're relatively going to stay in a place where you can absorb different experiences and have that reinforce your expertise. But if people invest more so in tooling specific, and just invest all that time, if a different or better tool comes along, it rips you out because you don't really have strong roots to keep you anchored into what it is that you do or how you do. I mean, one example that was given early, by Garima in her work, she's developing ontologies and taxonomies for e-commerce websites, and she was looking at it from the lens of how do I serve the users and the buying patterns and whatever it is that their intention is. So she has the fixed methodology, and she has the responsible outlook of like, all right, cool, we have tools. I still have to do this manually, but I'm not going to restrain myself exclusively to fulfill this manually. I'm also going to invest a little bit of time to experiment to see how I can do this with AI. How can I replace the manual flow with an automated flow? And where it makes sense to switch over, I'll do that. But I'm always going to fulfill my promises. So I thought that was a really interesting take, and I thought that was appropriate to this particular topic. Um, so with the final sign off, I'd love to hear your perspective as to what advice you give people in the crowd and that watch this live or watch the recording. What do they need to do to, you know, enhance their professional identity?
The thing that comes to mind for me is I read this transcript last year about how in the 90s, like social media manager wasn't a job, you know? And so I think about what jobs could we like invent right now? And to a certain, Joaquin, you of your own volition created this format for us. Like we need more of that kind of like get up and go. It used to be people would be like, I'm not entrepreneurial. And then you talk to others and they're like, I didn't really have a choice. And that idea of necessity is the parent of invention. So it feels like the world's burning a little bit. And so it's like, I don't really have a choice. I'm going to use this survival energy to do what it is that I want to do. And I don't know, it taps into a different part of me than the part that used to work for like a corporate organization doing what I was told for other people's ends. So I'll pass the mic.
Yes, I can go with some ideas that I can come up, but it's basically about, since we are in an AI career triathlon, I would say to, if you are interested into this career of AI, we definitely have to be learning all the time, right? Invest yourself with the new technologies, learn how to utilize them, how to analyze what can be done via AI, and what when we have to do the human in the loop. And again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but as long as we follow our passion and invest on ourselves, physically, mentally, and emotionally, I think the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of that. The it is important, the human in the loop part is very important, as Manuel was just saying, and having that aspect and understanding of both, knowing when to let the AI do its thing and knowing when to intervene and steer it. I think a lot of people, I think that's a skill set in itself. Speaking of this being a triathlon, and we're talking about AI, because one thing I'm learning more and more and more is that you have to trust the AI to an extent if you don't know the subject matter of how you're using it. And I know for a lot of people, that's really hard to understand and conceive because you think of AI as a program, but humans have been programmed since the beginning of time, especially now in this day and age. So the whole aspect of programming being taboo, we need to put that to the side because we all have been, and the AI is in the same realm. So learning a little bit more of how to trust these tools, the same way that when you wake up in the morning, I remember being in high school, I forgot what my teacher was teaching us the theory of, but you assume that the floor is there. Like you get out of bed, you put your feet on the floor, and you assume it's there. When we all watched a movie where we're looking at the character and they put their feet out and there's no floor. The character doesn't know that, but that's just the truth. I'm just using it metaphorically speaking. So there's just times where you have to really understand that these are tools, they're growing. These are algorithms and programs, they're still growing. They are learning us to a huge degree, especially when you have these features like memory. And to be able to capitalize on that for the betterment, of your opportunities. As Carmela was saying, I call it making a contribution to the human condition. Shout out to Spock, Star Trek. That's how I see it. What can you leave behind? What can you say that, hey, I contributed to the overall goodness, of what we're doing? I know that sounds a little heady, but I think that that's very important for us to understand, because the same way that you're looking to do something good, I'm telling you, the ops are using these tools too. That's another conversation people don't want to have. The ops are using these tools too. Let's keep it all the way funky with it. So you just understanding how this thing we're in, it's an error. And this era that we're in, we're not going backwards. We all have heard that this is the worst it's ever going to get. So use it, trust it. When I say trust it, I don't mean just believe in it like it's your new religion. I mean, trust in it that you are going to use it. If there's something in your gut that makes you feel off, take care of that. There's a reason why that instinct is there. However, if your gut ain't saying nothing, that those spidey senses aren't tingling, and you took a process where you pass this AI output to another and you get two opinions, like you're talking to two doctors, at some point in time, you're going to have to, what they say, let go and let, you know what I'm talking about? Let go and let the universe. So you got to trust it sometimes. Otherwise, you're going to be in that hamster wheel, just spinning your wheels.
Thank you all for taking the time to participate in this panel. I just want to say, I've been floating around with some other people to talk about community building, and the work wasn't immediately evident of how important it is to get together and what can happen. We need to witness each other do what we do, and we need to build each other. I wouldn't have met any of you had I not been producing these events, and you wouldn't have known each other, and we wouldn't have known that Maestro and Manuel, you live in Ohio, and Carvela's in New York, and she's invited me to events in person, and we keep building this ecosystem of possibility. So yeah, thank you very much, and I hope this serves the greater good.
Thanks to you,
Thank
Joaquin.
you for organizing this, Joaquin.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. So we'll take a brief intermission, and then we're going to go jump in with Svenja in the future of work. So,
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you.